So I'm picturing a Rick Wakeman wannabe twirling around wearing a cape that's got, bits of silver foil he's made from home. It's that sort of like,
It's always a cape with you, John. Whenever
yeah.
you're like drumming up this pretentious, it's like, and the motherfucker's got a cape.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Audiophiles. My name's John. His name is Andy. I was supposed to be going out. That took ages. Kids are hardcore, aren't they? They don't mess about. Madhouse, chit chat, duties, more nappies. Then I managed to get out. More on that later. But first, we have a tune to listen to. Andy, what have you got for us?
I have a band. They are called Revolution I Love You. And the go ahead, get it out of your system. I know how much you love these band names of bands you've never heard of before.
Fuck's sake. It's like they don't want anyone to, look them up and remember them.
The name of the track by Revolution I Love You is called They Watch. So please
Okay.
go off, give this thing a listen, and come back and let me know what you think.
In the spaces that we're leaving between our chairs, screaming alone for a pair.
Okay, short song, so I'll get into it. Interesting start. That beat, I'm not sure if it's human or electronic. Could be either. It kind of reminds me a little bit. It's not as obvious, but it's kind of in the same. It's in the same cul-de-sac as the sort of electronic drum machine sounds from Automatic era of Jesus and Mary Chain. Actually, Jesus and Mary Chain is a good kind of band to bring up to this sound. There's this murky, dirty, gothicy kind of sound to this, um, which is really interesting. Perhaps a bit of Sisters of Mercy, sort of Floodlands as well, when they introduced this weird poppy stuff and all that. There's a bit of that to it as well, definitely. Is it? I caught the first opening lines, I think. So, what did it say? In the spaces that we're leaving between our chants and screaming. So yeah, it's firmly within the sort of gothic. Ooh, something. It does sound American though, with like a sprinkle of American tone to it. The way he's scanning the lines is very American to my ears, and I can't tell you why. I can just say that sounds American. I don't think you get away with it in this country. Someone would take the piss too much, but it's totally acceptable. Um, Coming from someone from the States. Don't know why. I don't make the rules up. But yeah, interesting start. There's a really nice texture to the guitar, almost tactile.
Was beating, reflecting and repeating. The gauntlet of
Okay, it's back into another verse, I guess. That little mini break was really nice. That guitar sounded almost Mick Ronson-esque in a way, but then, fucked about with slightly. It did have that kind of early 70s feel that's sort of teetering towards heaviness, but not quite getting there. It's nice. And in this channel here, there was a sort of more traditional guitar, just kind of strumming some chords that was almost like framing it. There's a really nice sound to it.
White and blue, brass badges and well-shined shoes reminds us what we'll go through if we don't march where we're told to. They don't silence us. Silence us. They don't silence us. But they watch.
That was fun, that little bit. I'm almost certain it's guitar, but it could easily be some sort of keyboard resembling a guitar, the way it was played. But yeah, that was really fun. It just makes me picture someone with a cape dancing around. I don't know why, it just does. Yeah, some really interesting. There's some sort of percussion going on as well as the sort of insistent beat that I'm thinking probably is human. But that percussion, it's almost got like a brittleness to it, kind of plasticky shaker almost. I'm not sure, but yeah, interesting though. I sort of break it down. They had that sort of beat for a bit there. That's almost like a bassy type sound, but again, that could easily be electronic, throbbing away. Yeah, good stuff.
Our cameras can see their eyes. Our cameras can see the color. Our cameras can see their eyes. Their cameras can see our numbers. Our cameras can see their eyes. Our cameras can see the color. Our cameras can see their eyes. Their cameras can see our numbers. You hear that? The captain with the aircraft to watch it. Doesn't it make you wonder if that's outnumbered? Don't silence us. Don't silence us. Don't silence us. But they watch.
Interesting. Sorry, my twitch there at the end. Apologies. I didn't really want it to stop before it finished because I was enjoying it. That was good. There's some really nice atmosphere and sound to this. It's nothing that I haven't heard before, but it's really well put together. It's interesting. I would sort of put the source of this music. It's that sort of fine line tipping point between sort of dirty guitars and the electronica coming in. And you had a bit of it in the sort of first new wave batch, at the end of the 70s, beginning of the 80s. But this kind of sound with the more dirty guitars, it's really late 80s. Yeah, and bands sort of took this and went off in different directions, and it was how much of the electronic part of the equation, how you deployed it, influenced how your sound went, from sort of dream poppy and shoegazy through to this sort of gothic rock, stuff and onwards. Yeah, really interesting stuff. Yeah, I quite enjoyed this though. Yeah, it's very listenable. I haven't got a scoop as what the nonsense he's spouting on about, but I kind of think it doesn't really matter. With Gothic sort of sounding stuff anyway, it's usually a load of old nonsense anyway, isn't there? Nothing really that profound. Although perhaps Andy may well prove me wrong. So let's get back to him and find out what the hell is going on.
Okay, so you're back. You went off, you checked out Revolution I Love You and their track They Watch. I hope you listen. What did you make of it?
Yeah, just to go back to that, I will say if this band name was a child, it wouldn't have any lunch money by the end of the school run of the bus. Nah. What's wrong with the traditional one word, probably best four letters, something like spam or dung, nice, easy. You can really get behind.
At least it's better than conformity. I love you. So yeah, I'll take Revolution. I love you over that any day of the week.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Anyway, so song kicks off, and instantly we get that sound, which is a murky blend of like indie goth and some apps that aren't quite up to the task. It was a great sound, and it kicked off lots of things in my head. So I wondered initially whether the beat that starts with whether it is manufactured or real, and I wasn't quite sure, and it kind of put me straight in mind of Automatic era Jesus and Mary Chain, who famously put in electric bass and drum machines, and a lot of people slammed them for it. And actually, I think there's a little bit of like Jesus and Mary Chain in the DNA of this band's sound.
Yeah.
And I would also say, this is my opinion at the start reaction, what I said was, I think there's also a little bit of like Floodland era Sisters of Mercy as well. I don't know how familiar you are with that, but this is obviously without the talented Miss Patricia Morrison and Gin Steinman's, yes, you heard me right, Gin Steinman's comic opera production on certain tracks. Anyway, so what it led me to think of is this tipping point where you get this dirty, murky guitar bilge soup meets electronic fuzz. And you have different points in the musical history where this happens. It happens a wee bit at the start of like new wave, and you get this sort of crossover, this electronic sound and the guitar sound and how they're trying to make it work. But it really kicked in, I think, with a vengeance of this type in the sort of latter half of the 80s. And from that sort of abstract expressionism kind of guitar work, many genres sort of sprung out from the primeval musical ooze. And it really is how the electronic side of things was deployed that influenced where a band went, and how particularly dark was the tunnel they went down. And you get it all from like dreamy pop to sort of shoegaze, and even into like grungy type stuff and this gothic rock sound. So yeah, it was just really interesting, and just hearing this and thinking about the different developments. And I could not put a time to this track. I imagine it's fairly recent though. I don't think that it's 1987. But anyway, back to the song. Not the easiest of lyrics to discern, with all the sort of tactile sounds flying around. But I think it starts almost immediately with, I'm pretty sure about this, in the spaces that we're leaving between the chants and the screaming, color me chilled. It's kind of like this guy. It definitely has this gothic flavor to it, and I mean, in many senses of an American gothic almost. And I also think the sound, to me, and if you push me as to why, I couldn't articulate in words what it is, but it does have an American sort of sprinkle to it, a flavor that's American. And you'll tell me they're from Bayswater or something, but I'm pretty sure it sounds American anyway.
Yeah.
After a few lines, the So we have this lovely insistent beat, and you've got this lovely sort of crunchy, dirty guitar. And the guy is it. I'll come on to that. Sorry. Um, you get this little break after a few lines, and then we can really concentrate. I mean, and we get this second guitar. I'm calling it second guitar sound, whether it's the first one or not. Um, it moves into this more, again, hard to describe it. I would call it more of a wired sound, um, almost akin to some of those heavy or burgeoning on heavy sounding guitar sounds from the early 70s. It's kind of like fuzzy Mick Ronson in a way. And it's that lovely, you can almost feel the electricity in the tone of it. Really, really like that. And while this was doing this fairly brief flourish, and it's only, 10, 20, 12 seconds or something, in the left channel, we get a more traditional guitar sound, which is gently strumming almost a arpeggio chord. And it kind of feels like it's framing the sort of wriggling of the first guitar. I really like that sound. It's great. And it's just a real change up. And then we go back, and then we get this sort of like a double, hit on the drums, which I'm beginning to think more and more is human. And it leads us back into the next verse where we go back to that sort of, tactile sounding guitar. And just for a second, I was just thinking, it's interesting. We had a conversation a while, and we've had it, I think, quite a few times about sort of compression of guitars and how they sound and how they went in the 90s and what's acceptable to my palate, what isn't. And that line may be a bit fuzzy sometimes, and it goes on Gus and it's just interesting how I fucking love the noise of this guitar, which to other people would just be noise as well. When it gets distorted in a certain way, it almost removes the melody from the notes it's playing, and it becomes a shift of it's almost like this wave form now. But I love it, and I've loved it ever since I heard it from Motorhead or whatever. It's great. So yeah, the singer's scanning's this really steady pace. Now at this point, I'm struggling to get some of the words. So some of them I've made up, and I know they're wrong. But it's like when he sings, it's like the gauntlet. I think he says of white and blue. It sounds like fresh badges and will shine shoes, which is clearly wrong. But but it's that the way he scans it again. To me, in my ear, it sounds like sort of an American delivery, trying to sound a bit cool. Probably does sound a little bit cool. It's the sort of thing that no British singer would get away with. I mean, it would have the piss ripped out of him singing like that because it's just not British, but it is American and it sounds good, So it's just that again, that's my kind of gut feeling logic in it. I also think when he's singing this, there's some extra percussion comes in that adds a bit to the rhythm. And it's weird because it sounds odd. It's not like a shaker, but it's almost got a plasticky, brittle sound to it as well. It's interesting. I don't dislike it. It's just different. Now the potential, as we've already, seen for malapropisms is huge here. So I'll treat you to more mishearings that I got. The music drops a touch, and then we get this. I think it's probably "Don't Sanitize," but it does come to my ears sounding like "Don't Salad Eyes." Um, and once I heard "Salad Eyes," I could not unhear "Salad Eyes" every time he said it. It's just once the thought's in there, you can't stop it. Don't press the red button. Okay. The toms here sound really nice and really human. So yeah, there's definitely someone drumming there. Which is great. And then we get this other drop down bit. The singer, who's clearly got to the roach at this point, and the big inhale. The bass sort of throbs like a freshly hammered thumb. It could at this point, there's a little bit so in the music here where I'm not on the fence, but I could easily be convinced that it's not an instrument per se. It could be an electronic substitution. And there's a few instances of that where it could be one or the other, and it doesn't really matter, to be honest with you. It's the fact out, but that sort of electronic, bass almost has this throbbing quality that's really nice, and yeah, it kind of adds to an unease within the total sound of the overall track. And then we get the title line, "Don't Watch." Um, at least he didn't do it in a Bela Lugosi accent, so that's something. I really don't have a Scooby what's going on with the lyrics, and so the narration for me is gone. But it's definitely when he sings, they watch. This is definitely a trigger for some lovely tomfoolery. Again, not sure if this is a guitar or some facsimile that's been created. I'm leaning towards it being a proper guitar. Um, but the way it's played, and it does, the way some of the notes hold, it does sound like a guitar, but it could easily be an electronic version. But it has this flourish that I'm picturing a Rick Wakeman wannabe twirling around wearing a cape that's got, bits of silver foil he's made from home. It's that sort of like,
It's always a cape with you, John. Whenever you're like drumming up this pretentious, it's like, and the motherfucker's got a cape.
but it's almost like this sort of abandonment of, I don't want to say shit. Do you know what I mean? They're like inhibitions of God, and it's just going for
Yeah.
it, and it's great. Either way, whether it's electronic or real, there are at least a couple of delicious spoonfuls of madness to this solo, and I've really enjoyed it. It's just nonsense, and it's really enjoyable nonsense as well. Um, then we get a an emergency shipment of nanars coming in that are sort of vocally joined, which was nice to get you a daily, allowance of nanars in. And then a different breakdown, which is almost starts tugging in a sort of dub direction. It's really nice, but it's fairly momentary. And then the loud and shouty previous instruments burst back in the room. Oi, what about me? And there's some lovely little sort of extra feedback and, notes which all sort of squiggle away. It's great. Real, I've just put more fun riffing. We get another further couple of platefuls of salad eyes because apparently they are popular because they watch. So yeah, this was a lot of fun. At the start of the action, I did reference Jesus and Mary Chain. I stand by that. I did reference Sisters of Mercy, and I have to say that it was a lot better than that. So I'm not sure about the content in terms of lyrically. Couldn't really make out apart from the bits I snatched. But with a sort of goth tinged song like this, I think more of it's about the ambiance, the attitude, and whatever it's singing. Doesn't matter as much to me. The narration, it's the overall feel, which I thought was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm really glad you liked it, man. I thought it might have enough of shades of what you've shown me in the past for it to resonate with you to some degree. I'm glad that it did as much as it did with you. I will say the lyrics will make a lot more sense when you divorce yourself from this theory of salad eyes, which, spoiler alert, is not an actual lyric from the track. So focus more on the they watch part and less on the fucking Caesar salad eyes, and it'll all start to check out and make sense. But yeah, man, I'm super stoked you like this one. It's a great song, a lot of fun. I really like this band a lot. I'm glad I finally got them on the channel. But yeah, let's dive into it a little bit. Revolution, I Love You. Their founding members, Rob Lindrigan and Jay Reynolds, met in secondary school in Bayswater. No, I'm just joking. They met in high school in Delaware. So
Do you
there
know where
you go.
Bayswater is?
No, I was like, you said it and I was like, don't let that go because you want to use it later as a callback joke. But no, I have no fucking clue where that is.
Yeah, it's in Nebraska.
Yeah, it's a landlocked. There's no place in Nebraska with water in the name. Let me tell you that. You better pick a better state if you're going to try to dupe me, John. you pick, you pick a place that's literally the middle of America. That's great. So yeah, they were high school buddies in Delaware, where they played in a variety of bands before they actually formally formed Revolution I Love You. Their sound has been described by Lost.fm as lo-fi electro rock, gritty rock and roll with a backbone of both drums and drum machines, synthesizers, and subwoofer pushing bass. Yeah, these got to touch a little bit on like observations you made and to kind of expand on that. Everything that's ever been written about these guys, from trying to describe their sound and even just me talking to other people who've heard them and what they're taking, they really blur these lines between all these different subgenres that all and the connected connective tissue of all of that is electrifying those subgenres, like electro this, electro new wave, electro indie, electro folk. They all kind of like all of it's based around this idea of it's almost like an android. It's not a full blown robot, and it's obviously not a human, but it's this odd amalgam of the two that they do with all of their, I guess, genre bending, if you will. If I keep this up, I'm going to sound like I'm wearing a cape, so I'm going to reel it in a little bit. The duo released their debut EP, Noise Pop Death Ray, in 2008 before moving to Philadelphia for a much needed change of scenery and obviously more opportunity. Delaware, yay, I'm in Delaware, to quote Wayne's World. That's kind of why they needed to get out of there, you know what I mean? And Philly actually has, we've checked out a few bands that are from that Philly indie scene on the channel, and obviously it's a healthier, more robust music scene in a big city like Philly than it is in a small state like Delaware. So, after releasing their first LP, we choose to go to the moon, which was in 2011. Revolution I Love You began to build more momentum, garnering critical acclaim for their experimental yet danceable sound. Noise Trade called the album exactly what's been missing in your life, praising its perfect mix of real world instruments and digital flourishes. The song Graceful Steps is now included in the British Library Sound Archive. They won Indie Electronic Dance Band of the Year at the 2013 Tri State Indie Music Awards, and Music Under Fire named Revolution I Love You single Cotton Shirts one of their top 100 tracks of 2012. Continuing this progress, Revolution I Love You dropped the Atlantic Ocean EP in 2014, pardon me. Katrina Murray of Philly's WXPN praised the band's signature flavor in a glowing review, noting how the crunchy synth work and loud guitar riffs are central to Revolution I Love You's modern twist on classic rock and roll. The EP's title track was even a finalist in the International Songwriting Competition. Not long after this release, the band began to blend their electronic drum programming with live drums via Jeff Ormsby. Revolution I Love You dropped the subtly spacey single Learn to Sleep in 2018. The single features a grimy cover of Dare by Gorillaz as its B-side, which took off on its own after being added to Spotify's editorial playlist, Indielandia. And this 2018 is where I first kind of got introduced to these guys. So it was kind of like I had to go back, and then I kind of gleefully waited for more stuff to come out. The band followed this with Black Feathers, which was released in 2020. Their second
That's the
full
thumbnail on the video, yeah.
Precisely. Yeah, you got it. So yeah, this is their second full-length album and their first to feature the aforementioned Ormsby on drums proper. So this is their first release as a three-piece at this point. So yeah, and the track I had you check out today features on this album. The Nexos's music blog, Acordes de Descores, called Black Feathers the band's best work and the most challenging and risky thing to be found these days in the boring and tedious noise rock scene. The album's first single, Wait, landed on Apple Music's editorial shoegaze dream pop playlist Beneath the Stars, where it stayed for months. Over at Take Effect, the online publication graded the album a 9 out of 10, writing, another outstanding outfit from the always thriving Philadelphia scene. Rob Lindrigan, Jason Reynolds, and Jeff Ormsby, aka Revolution I Love You, return with a sophomore album where organic and synthetic instruments all collide in a very creative and instantly memorable ways. So, let's jump into these lyrics. No need to bring your salad fork or your glasses. In the spaces that we're leaving, between our chants and screaming, a lone propeller's beating, reflecting and repeating. The gauntlet of white and blue, brass badges and well-shined shoes reminds us that what we'll go through
Wow. That's
if
cool.
we don't march where we're told to. They don't silence us, but they watch. Our cameras can see their eyes. Our cameras can see the color. Our cameras can see their eyes. Their cameras just see our numbers. You hear that helicopter, the ever present watcher. Doesn't it make you wonder if they're scared of our numbers? They don't silence us, but they watch. So, pretty obvious what this is about. Sort of this police state authoritarian situation where, the masses are being watched and lorded over by whatever the big brother like entity that they're describing. Obviously they get pretty detailed with the police imagery with the brass badges and well-shined shoes, white and blue. I really think it's interesting. You get this alone propellers beating, reflecting, and repeating, and that doesn't come out and say what it is, but it kind of lets you end up where you naturally will. And then later they say you hear that helicopter, like they're just calling it by its name, right? um yeah, I think this is a really good song. I think without getting into too much, which sometimes I am guilty of doing, it is incredibly apropos, given what is going on over here at the moment. And against certain people that look a certain way or whose perhaps ancestors come from a certain place. There's a lot of shoot first, aim second going on right now with some of our decision making and authoritarian figures in this country. And it's not just exclusive to us. In fact, there are probably people from other countries that are going, "Oh, you country mouse, this is new to you. We've been enduring this for centuries or for decades or whatever." So I take that into account and totally understand it, but I think I'm beginning to understand it a lot more clearly given the current circumstances. So I thought, as much as I love the song and it's now 5 years old or whatever, it just seemed like incredibly apropos to the moment. So there you go. You got a little meaning behind the words there, John. So, but man, I'm super stoked you like this, regardless of whether you understood the lyrics or not or picked up on them.
Yeah,
Super.
yeah. It created an atmosphere of this sort of gloomy threat. So I didn't know what it was, but that was there definitely.
Yeah, and when you couple that with what you now know, this looming threat and gloomy, dark, gothic nature, it's a little dystopian and so forth. So yeah, all of it adds up, right? Um, yeah, thank you so much for giving this a listen, John. I really appreciate your input.
Yeah,
I'm
my
super
pleasure.
stoked you liked it as much as you did. So yeah, guys out there in the listening audience, let us know what your take was or what your experience was like listening to Revolution. I Love You's They Watch. There's some other really great tracks by them. I might bring Weight at some point down the line. I will say that it's been 5 years, guys. Come on, let's get that third full length out. I would really look forward to hearing from you guys. But yeah, all that out. Go ahead.
If that doesn't work, nothing else will.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, come on. I mean, the only thing I could do is put on a cape and make the same request, and maybe that would garner a bit more of attention. But guys, please, if you haven't yet, like, share, and subscribe. We really, really do appreciate it. Thank you so much, and hopefully we'll catch all y'all, capes or no capes, in the next installment of the Audio Files. We'll see you later, guys.